My wife cheating on our 10-year anniversary too. Story 1. Several people think that this story is fiction made up. I wish it was, but this is very much real. My emotional breakdown, therapy and removal of everyone in my life is very real to me. Hi everyone, I have been reading your messages since D-Day and I saw a few people say that like me they lurked for some time but felt that it was important to share their experiences for their own sanity and to hopefully help others as well, so here I am. I'm sorry this is going to be very long, I really need to get this off my chest. This is making me very nervous just writing this, so please bear with me. I 32 meters met my 28F fiancé 3 years ago. At the time I had just gotten out of a full-blown narcissistic relationship. I didn't even know what a narcissist was before then. Most of you know the horrific nature of that relationship, so I won't go into detail, but I will say that I lost my home, my dog, was left in debt, extremely traumatized and had a complete breakdown. There is also 10 pages of a police report for good measure. I wound up living in a shed on my best friend's property while I tried to get my life back together. I mention this because I want to explain how this situation came about. I spent 6 months alone working on myself after that experience and felt finally okay to get back on the dating scene. I kept remembering the meme on Facebook that said you meet the best person after the worst, so I was hopeful. I met my fiancé on Tinder. I know, not a good idea, and we seemed to hit it off quite well. I told her what I was going through and she said she was previously engaged but called it off due to it not working out and some trauma herself. Went on a few dates and ended up sleeping together. She was living with a friend at the time who got very cold toward me, and red flag number 1 popped up that they were actually sleeping together, and he had gotten jealous that she no longer would put out and wouldn't let me in the house. I also was quite anxious for my first time dating and completely ignored the fact that this girl was going on multiple dates and essentially using guys for validation and free meals. Big red flag, I know, but because of my previous experience I really was just grateful that someone even liked me. She had not been working for over a year due to some issues at her previous job and seemed to be stuck in her bed for days at a time and would only go out if it was with me and I suppose other men at the start. I told myself this girl is just as broken as I am, but I know how to fix this because gone through the work, so it's okay. She ended up moving into this tiny shed with me so we could actually be together only after 2 months. At first I was surprised, but I was also relieved that this girl wasn't just after money or status, and I felt she genuinely cared. Any girl who was willing to be in such uncomfortable living conditions just so we could be close was amazing to me at the time. When I was moving her things she barely lifted a finger. Her and her ex stood there discussing what to keep between them while myself and my best friend loaded everything. Her cat had also just given birth to kittens which she did not want to give away but said she'd look after them. Problems started almost immediately. When I went to work she would spend all day in the shed and not leave, wouldn't speak with my friend, his partner, or help around the house. When I get back the cat litter was never emptied, so the shed smelled horrible each day. Her reason was she was extremely anxious and depressed and just didn't have it in her to motivate. There were small bursts of improvement followed by the same pattern. I continually told her the best thing she can do is to get out and just go for a walk and talk to herself. This was not in a city but a town of 1,000, so lots of space to vent, relax and focus on self-healing and growth, but she never did. Fast forward another 6 months and I had found us a house to live near the beach. I had regained my self-worth and was doing better at work. The same patterns continued. She would not clean, or cook or pick up after the cats. I talked at length to her about this and was always very patient and understanding, but said we need to meet each other in the middle here and work as a team to help rebuild our lives. This worked on occasion and I would come home and the house had been cleaned, which was nice. I'll add that during this time she provided no financial support and I needed to pay for everything including her smokes, food, cat food, etc., along with my own as well as rent, power, etc. I had talked to her multiple times about getting even a basic job like McDonald's or a service station just to get herself back out there and to help me out, but she said she hated those jobs and wouldn't do it. She was extremely anxious about being alone or in the public, so would not do any shopping or go out unless I was with her. She said this was due to childhood trauma and bad relationships, and because of my last one I said I understand, so let's work on it together. She wasn't able to handle conflict at all. When there were issues that needed addressing, I would sit her down and say we need to go over this, but she would either go off topic or simply say I can't deal with this and walk out of the room or avoid me altogether. I would give her 10 minutes, then come in and say the problem won't go away simply by ignoring it. I would remind her that I'm not going to leave, I'm not going to yell, but we need to address these issues so we can move on. This sort of thing went on for about a year or so. Without me realizing it, I was getting more and more depressed and lower in energy. I'm sure you guys know how it feels when you wake up in the morning with a smile on your face, roll over to your other half and say good morning darling, and you get a hey hun, can you put the coffee on? No smile, no energy. Just a miserable face like it was the worst day. This started to take a toll, and without even realizing it I had started to lose my energy, my joy for life. My S-time drive took a huge dive, and I actually felt really bad about this because she would constantly ask and I just wasn't in the mood. What I didn't realize was this girl had made herself the center of my world. Everything revolved around her. I stopped going out, I stopped seeing my family, etc. The second year she was doing a bit better and I had helped her through a lot of her anxiety and depression. She could go to the shops to get food without me and was taking regular walks with me outside. Things were looking up. I even motivated her to follow her goal of becoming a mental health worker. I kept reinforcing and giving her all my time, love and dedication, and eventually she got onto a course that she absolutely loved. It was the first time she'd starting to really live properly again. I would pick her up and drop her off each day and she was smiling and laughing again. I was happy, I really was. While this was going on, I began to have this massive urge to begin self-improvement. I wanted to get back to the gym, to start my hobbies again, which at the time she said yes. Do it, you need to. However, each time I attempted this, without even realizing she was sabotaging me progress. If I got home and said okay, I'm going to cook a healthy meal, it was oh we had that 2 days ago, let's just get takeout. When I said I wanted to quit smoking, she said great, me too, but she only lasted 2 weeks. And it started to become a pattern. I would say let's do this to improve our lives. She would be on board for about 2 weeks, then fall back into the same pattern of low energy and non-interest. By this point I realized that her codependency was not going away, even though I had talked at length about it with her. I told her I used to be like you, I know that you love me to an extent, but only because you need me, not because you want me. I would tell her that I can tell you my darling, I don't need you, but I want you. I love you with every inch of my being. I know you're not perfect, but I see the person you truly are underneath all this. She agreed, and again 2 weeks later back to the same habits. Talks again of standing up for herself, not trying to just like the things I like, but finding out who she is and what she enjoys. I made a decision at the end of the year that I was now enabling her, and in turn I was not honoring myself, because after all the talks and all the conversations, patience and understanding, she was still making me put her first beyond anything else. I took her for a walk one day and said, I'm going to move into my brother's house and you are going to get a flat on your own. One of the biggest reasons for this was that I always felt so underappreciated for the things I did for her, all the cooking, cleaning, taking care of absolutely everything in our lives. I said that the best thing is for you to find a flat so you can learn to do these things on your own and understand that you don't need someone to look after you for you to be okay. Of course she panicked. Lots of arguing, crying. But eventually she began to see the positive. I said and reinforced, I'm doing this because I don't want us to lose each other, but the way we are together isn't healthy, and she actually agreed. That is until she spoke with her mother, who found it completely irresponsible that I would sow such a thing, and in her words, it's a bit queer what you're doing. I need to say that a major red flag I ignored is that I never got along with her family. They seemed very dependent on other people to survive. Her friends were either duck boys or absolute dropkicks that made me annoyed to be around because they acted like children at the best of times. I moved in with my brother and she eventually found a flat, and I guess without me realizing it, this was indeed the end of our relationship. She slowly began to check out without me realizing it. When I said we should just catch up in the weekends so you can learn to be more independent and I can focus on myself, it turned into seeing each other 3 times in a row each week and weekends. Nothing I said or did that was positive was adhered to, and I crumbled to her requests each time. By this stage she had finally gotten her dream job as a mental health worker and was over the moon, and so was I. All that time, effort, love and commitment I had put into her while sacrificing myself had paid off, and she was in such an amazing place. Her finances that I worked with her on didn't pay, just showed her how to get debt-free, were sorted, and she had a good car that was cheap on gas. I want to add here that I had helped move her things 3 times, including to her new flat. Each time I did the majority of the work while she did a little. When it came time for me to finally move flats with my brother, she was nowhere to be seen. I asked if she could come help wrap some glasses in paper. She came but went to bed because she had finished work and was too tired. In the week it took to move, she did not help once. She started to become more controlling and asking me to buy her Uber or drop it off at her work 30 minutes away from where I live. I did this, however, I started to get more frustrated that I was getting almost nothing back from this girl. Breadcrumbs, if you could even call them that. She was draining me of everything I had and building herself up more and more, and I felt my codependency emotions start to kick in and I panicked. I explained over 2 months to her how I was feeling neglected and used, but she ignored it completely. I sent her a massive message where I was as blunt as anything so she knew exactly how I felt, and when I asked how do you feel about this, she simply replied, "I'm angry at this," and began coming up with reasons why this wasn't the case at all. It came to a head when my best mate invited us on a trip away, and I told her I really didn't want to go with them. I said my mate was having issues in his relationship and our interactions was making me feel very uneasy about the situation. Frankly, I just didn't trust him to have good judgment, but she insisted and I once again caved. As dumb as it is, what set me off on the drive up is her refusal to let me play my own music in my own car. This told me that no, she didn't care about anything I had to say on what I was feeling. It was still all about her. I lost it that weekend, 2 years of being taken advantage of and being more patient than a saint, and I blacked out on tequila and, according to my mate, treated her like absolute acid and said horrible things. I hated myself for it. That's not who I am, but I couldn't see that I was so stressed and unhappy at not being heard that I finally popped. She came over to my flat one day and said, "I'm really upset at the things you said to me, so I'm going to go to your best mate's house and you can't come." I said that's not okay. She said it's not to see him but his partner. "We get along really well now, they used to hate each other," she said. "I need a girls' night and just have some fun." I told her this made me really nervous, as when I was younger 2 of my close friends had a threesome with my then girlfriend and lied about it for months. I told her this and she said, "4 told you over and over, I'm not like your other girlfriends, you can trust me, hun." I called my mate and he said, "Don't worry, I'm not drinking, it'll just be those 2. So the day comes and she goes off, messages me throughout the night and says, "I love you so much, my darling. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you." She said this while she was cheating on me. The next day I knew something was off. She came over to mine and I had already started drinking from pure panic. I called my mate and he said, "Don't worry bro, I kept my pants on this time." I texted him again later and said, "Are you sure nothing happened, man?" He said, "I promise man, nothing at all happened, it's all good." I asked her and got a stern 4 told you time and time again, I'm not your other girlfriends, you need to trust me. The only reason I found out was my best mate's partner's guilt kicked in and she spilled the beans. That text, I'm starting to cry just thinking about it. That text broke me in ways I didn't know was possible. 4 been friends with that guy since I was 5 years old. His partner since I was 13 years old. I won't go into the emotions because we have all felt it, but the level of betrayal and disrespect, man. It kills every part of you that was good inside. When I called my mate I said why, all I got was, "I don't know man, sorry," that was it. Neither of them gave 2 S's. They were more upset at each other and couldn't care less, they just ducked over their oldest friend. And I wish that was the end, but it isn't. I took her back, I believed all the words she said of sorry and mistakes and I love you and well fix this. Even though she just proved she could lie through her teeth and be completely fine about it. I don't want to go over what happened, but she had us each get promise rings made so it would prove her loyalty to me and that she never wanted anyone else. I caught her 4 weeks later cheating on me again with either one of her old duck boys or someone she met on Tinder. When I confronted her she said, "Hess, just a friend." I asked, "Did you tell him you had a boyfriend?" and she said yes, so I started typing on her phone and she panicked and said, "Give it back." I said, "What are you doing?" Tears in my eyes and she said, "We're done." I'm done. When I asked her why she said this. It was easier to break up with you than to tell him. 3 years. All that effort, money, love, time, all the drama, all the work, and it was easier to end the relationship than to tell a duck boy she had a partner. From what heard, she went on a duck spree, having threesomes and doing random guys within days, and got into another relationship after about 6 weeks, only because her new guy turned her down, otherwise it would have been within days. Just duck. Story 2. My 35 meters wife 35F and I were married 10 years ago yesterday. She has been working on a big project for the last few months. The last 4 weeks or so she has been putting in extra time, staying late, going in early, to finish up by deadline. This is a career maker for her. I work construction. With the rain we have crazy hours trying to make up time that we missed. So I work 12 hours on the days it's nice, sometimes a little longer. If it's raining when I get up, I don't go in. Some days we get sent home when it starts, too dangerous. I usually hit the gym for an hour or two. Thursday we started at 6 a.m., mid-morning starts to rain hard. We go home. I go to the gym as usual. I cut the workout short and head downtown to see wife Megan, to give her flowers and make plans for dinner that night if possible. We really haven't seen much of each other this week. I went to bed about 9 p.m. She wasn't home, called earlier me she is working late. Not unusual for past month. I stopped and got some flowers and went into her building about 12:30. Nicole was at the receptionist desk. I told her I got here later than I wanted, could she put the flowers on Megan's desk? She said, I don't think they went to lunch yet, why not drop them off yourself? She buzzed the door to get back to the offices. The place was deserted. I went to her office, the door was closed. I always walk in unless the receptionist tells me she is in a meeting. I walk in, some guy is standing behind her nuzzling her neck, she is reaching back over his head. She is giggling only as she can, saying we got to get this done. I am gut punched. I slammed the flowers down, said happy anniversary and walked out. I didn't hear what she said, just went past Nicole, said goodbye and left. Made it to elevators and out the building, then my phone started ringing. I bawled my eyes out all the way home. Went into garage, pulled my camping gear out of the rafters and took off. I drove about 2 hours to a state park. I had no idea what to do. I just had to run. I hiked a trail we have been on in the past, about a 3-hour hike. I don't drink much, so I had no booze, I just sat there thinking. Looking back, I am glad I was in a rush. Normally I bring a 45 calories. With me camping, we have black bears, which generally scare off, but get aggressive if hungry or cubs around. The way I was feeling, I might have ate the barrel that night. My phone was blowing up from Megan, so I had turned it off. I left the park to get reception, turned it on to see my good friend called. I called him back. He said Megan called him to check on me, make sure I didn't do anything stupid. We talked a bit, told him I got to think this through, would catch up on Friday. So while I'm thinking about this, I go over our marriage from the beginning to see what I missed. We come from completely opposite backgrounds. My grandfather raised me with my mom. He taught me about life. He had a little saying about everything. He told me marriage would be the hardest jobs he ever had, you had to work on it every day. God, I miss him. We did not have much, heard mom and grandpa having many discussions about bills. They worked hard and my brother and I did not miss out on anything we knew of. Megan was born into money. Not overly rich but very comfortable. Went to a great college, always great clothes, new car etc. and she is beautiful, 11-10 beautiful. I would joke with her if she coughed about the silver spoon getting stuck in her throat. We met, hit off, started dating. I was dumbfounded how such a woman would ever be with me. We dated quite a while before she told me about her parents and lifestyle. Our friends called us the model couple, because they thought we were so good looking we had to be models. Families were not as kind, afraid of the differences economically would come into play. Her dad and I started to get along, but my mom took some convincing. She graduates, gets her first job, we plan on getting married. We work out between us that we would expose each other to our lives that we live. I took her whitewater rafting, she took me to the symphony, we went ziplining, we went to an art opening etc. We agreed we had to experience the other's interests. She was really enthused about the more physical things we did. I kinda like the symphony and such. I own 2 tuxes now. I look back and do not see any red flags. Her first 2 jobs she quit because the men all tried to get in her pants. She was paraded out in front for photo ops. Invited to conferences when other newbies were not. At dinner at a conference a partner tried to get her drunk, then tried to force himself into a room that night. She quit. The next job the same thing, quit again. This third job as women as some of the partners and none of that BS is in her workplace. She seems very happy. We seemed very happy. So now, Friday, I am home. I called her. Asked where she was, back at work. I, being in a smartass mood, said that the marriage is taking second place to her job. She responded, since I would not talk, what was she to do? Fair enough. She will be home in an hour. So I wait. I want to save our marriage. If I am L king in providing, then I want to fix it. I want to ask why, of course, but I cannot accept a IDK answer. How do I phrase this? What else should I be asking? I know I will get all emotional and forget everything, so over the next few days we will be going over and over this. What she did is wrong, but please no degrading comments, she is still my wife. Thank you in advance.